Hey everybody, Eric here for weekly news recap for the something 12th, I think 12th, the 18th of December, 2022. There's not a whole lot happening here, and I also realize now that it's the World Cup final at the moment, so I'll just get through this quickly. I don't imagine too many people have tuned in for this anyway. So, any updates or announcements this week? We have a new game called Redemption Reapers was announced during the week. It's a tactical turn-based RPG kind of thing. You have a party of misfits, you know, your standard kind of D&D party almost, who are a mercenary group. It's very much triangle strategy, XCOM, the Ophel Chronicle, that kind of thing. I'm just gonna skip ahead to some gameplay. Here's the squad. It's a little different in XCOM in that, you know, XCOM has sort of random party members that you upgrade as you go along, and they typically die before you can really get that far. Whereas it seems like it's more of the triangle strategy, Final Fantasy Tactics kind of way of doing it, where you have party members, based characters who are going to be with you for the whole game. Let's skip to some gameplay bits. It does seem to be just showing off like the big hits rather than the actual moment to moment moving guys around the map and making sure they're in range of your attack kind of stuff. There's like a voiceover in the trailer is kind of just highlighting there's a bit of like a Game of Thrones-ish kind of storyline to it. You know, it's not a nice story. It's a fairly grim setting, as you could probably tell just from its art style. But anyway, I think you've kind of got the gist of it. It's a tactics thing. It'll be arriving, I don't know. I don't think it gives a release date or a release window even. If I skip to the end, does it even say Redemption Reapers? It does not appear to have a release window. No, yes it does. February, so soon enough. Elsewhere, PlayStation Plus has its game catalog thing. So it's the PlayStation Plus Essentials were out earlier this month. So then we're looking at the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. So PlayStation Extra is getting, what the fuck is Rey Mysterio done to his head? Why does he just have clothes pegs clipped to him? Is he into some freaky stuff? Have I missed something? Anyway. WWE 2K22, aka the very broken one, is gonna be on PlayStation Plus, but it'll only be available until January 3rd, so it's literally only here for this month. So if you really want to play it, you better hurry up. Far Cry 5, aka the bad Far Cry, Far Cry New Dawn, that's the one that's set in the kind of American evangelical kind of thing. Far Cry New Dawn is set after the events of Far Cry 5, where, spoilers, a nuclear warhead went off. Far Cry Primal is a completely separate thing that has nothing to do with any of the other Far Cry games. Mortal Shell is a Souls-like thing. It's actually fairly short for a Soulsy game, but what it does is very interesting. It has some interesting mechanics that I would encourage you to give a look, since it's effectively free. Free with an asterisk. You are paying for the subscription. Anyway, Judgment was a spin-off to the Yakuza series. It is largely seen as the continuation of the action RPG stuff that Yakuza was doing. Now that Like a Dragon has kind of gone into more of a turn-based kind of thing. So Judgment was largely seen to be the continuation of the real-time combat thing. There's questions whether or not the Judgment series will be continuing. Because the main character, the actor, the likeness behind him, his managing company is pulling some weird shenanigans. So they might either continue the series with a different character or have to go into negotiations. But whatever, that doesn't stop you from just playing the game. Speaking of Like a Dragon, that is also added to the catalog, and I think, yeah, Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. So all of the Yakuza games now are on PlayStation Plus. So you have no excuse, Derek, anymore to put off playing the Yakuza games. So expect to see some of them next year, I think. The two Middle-earth Shadow ofs games. Shadow of Mordor, which was more of a Assassin's Creed, Batman, Arkham thing when it came out. It was very much a Me Too. And then Shadow of War just continued it, but with all the disgusting microtransaction shit. Even worse than Activision's microtransactions. Warner Brothers microtransactions are even worse. Nobody remembers. I remember. The Pedestrian is a really good puzzle game where you're playing the little guy on the sign, basically, and all the different signs that you come across have different puzzle elements to them. It's hard to describe without a video, to be honest. But we did play it on the channel, so if you want to check it out yourselves, one, it's free. Might as well just give it a shot anyway. Free asterisk. But you can just, there's a video that we did on the channel to look it up. Evil Genius 2 is a base management game where you play an evil genius trying to take over the world, and you have annoying spies that keep trying to infiltrate your compound and stuff like that. Adventure Time, Pirates of the Enchiridion? Yeah, sure, I don't know. It sounds like it's a platformy type game. Fast-paced tactical combat. Maybe it's more of a Diablo type thing. Ben 10 Power Trip. That's probably a platformer, right? It's all fun puzzle. Use your skills to help out the townspeople, collect power-ups. Drop in, drop out. I don't know. It's probably like a Lego type game. Gigantosaurus the game. Explore and race across the prehistoric world of Gigantosaurus. Gigantosaurus is a Disney cartoon. Okay, if you say so. It's a racing game. Yeah, that makes sense. Play alone or with a friend, exploring, solving puzzles, then taking part in a fast-paced super rally? What? Okay, weird. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire Ultimate Edition, so that has all of the expansions. Pillars of Eternity is a Dungeons & Dragons game, effectively, without the license. It's really hard, so keep that in mind. But it is very rewarding strategy combat. So think of the older Baldur's Gates and stuff like that, Divinity Original Sin, those kind of games. Or the original Pillars of Eternity. Worms something. It's a Worms game. If you don't know what Worms is at this point, I don't think I can help you. The Escapist 2 is a reverse base management. Instead of you trying to keep your base maintained, you are trying to escape the base. And then PlayStation Plus Premium is getting shafted again this week, or this month, as it usually does. The PlayStation Plus Premium bracket is the most expensive subscription for PlayStation Plus, which you would expect it would get the best stuff, but it does not. Anyway, Ridge Racer 2, the PSP version. Ridge Racer was a very old racing series. That was a first-party Sony thing until Gran Turismo started being its thing, and then Sony decided to just pivot to Gran Turismo at that point. Ridge Racer is more of an arcade racer, whereas Gran Turismo is a simulator racer. Heavenly Sword, Ninja Theory's first attempt to make an action combat game. It's not good. Honestly, it leans too much into its animations. It leans too much into its mocap story, and the story itself isn't particularly great, which means the combat itself is a bit meh. But they did take some of that into later games like Enslaved and DMC. And I know people don't like DMC Devil May Cry just because it's not Capcom. But I do feel that if you took the Devil May Cry away from it, it would be a very good game. But if it has to be stacked up against the other Devil May Cries, it's not as good. Oddworld's Abe's Exodus, the very first Abe's Exodus. Wait. Abe's Exodus is the sequel, I think. Abe's Odyssey is the very first game. I think Abe's Odyssey has been remastered in the meantime, but Abe's Exodus has not, so this is kind of the only way to play the sequel, whereas you can play either the original, which I think is on PlayStation Plus, or the remastered, and I'm not sure if that's on PlayStation Plus. And Pinball Heroes is a pinball game. I think you know what you're getting yourselves into with a pinball game. Anyway, not great, still. PlayStation Plus Premium. It's still not getting the games people have been asking for. Dino Crisis, Parasite Eve, Legacy of Kain, Street Fighter. There's a lot of games people want. The Final Fantasies, all of them. what's taking so long? You know, it's not like they're having issues with third-party stuff. I can imagine Square Enix would be, you know, not okay with doing. Fuck, I forgot to change camera. Alright, sorry, I've changed camera now. I can imagine Square Enix probably aren't gonna play ball with Final Fantasy because they're doing their pixel remaster stuff, and they want full money, all the money they can get. But they're not having issues with third parties here. Like Heavenly Sword is Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory is owned by Microsoft, but they're still not having an issue here. It's possible Sony owns part of the publishing rights, I think, with Heavenly Sword, since it was an exclusive. That's what's happening there. Oddworld Abe's Exodus, I'm not sure who owns the rights. It's not Sony, though. Not entirely sure. Ridge Racer 2 is first party, so they shouldn't have an issue there. Likewise with Pinball Heroes, I'm not sure who owns those rights. I don't think it's Sony, but still, there are plenty of other games on the service that are not first party games, so they can't really use that as an excuse. So what is the hold up with all of the other PS1 and PS2 games that are out there? Like, what is taking you so long? You can do it already. Anyway, moving on. This is kind of more of a PSA heads up for, well, myself mostly, but also for you guys if you're interested in it. I collect amiibo. I don't collect all of the amiibi. What's the plural of amiibo? Amiibo Day, maybe. I don't know. Probably something weird. Anyway, I collect the ones I like. Let's put it that way. And it turns out I like a lot of them. How do you know? But anyway, Sephiroth and Kazuya, the Smash Bros. Amiibo, will be available in January. Pyra and Mithra are planned for later in the year. So, you know, keep an eye out if you want them when they go up on, you know, whatever website you use to import shit. They'll go fast. So if you want them, you know, keep an eye out. Don't think there's imagery here for this. So what's interesting here is Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which we played on the channel, full Let's Play, check that out. They are going to be sold as a 2-pack, and it seems that that'll be the only way to get them. So if you're a Pyra fan and don't like Mithra, tough. You're going to have to get both. But anyway, some stage in January for Kazuya and Sephiroth, Pyra and Mithra later in that year. No mention of Sora. Was the last character added to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so I guess we'll see. He'd be the last amiibo to come out as well. And then last thing for updates, Amazon Games working with Crystal Dynamics on the next Tomb Raider. So what's interesting here is Tomb Raider and Crystal Dynamics are now owned by the Embracer Group. Embracer are a publisher all by themselves. You would expect that Tomb Raider would be a pretty big deal for them. You would expect them to handle the publishing of it because, you know, why wouldn't they? You'd expect it to be a lot of money for them. But they're not handling the publishing end of things. It's Amazon that are doing it, who have, up until now, had no affiliation with Crystal Dynamics or Tomb Raider. So what's the deal there? Is Crystal Dynamics using Amazon Web Services at some point in the game, and in that case there's some kind of partnership happening there? Or, I don't know, do Embracer not have enough money to make... It's possible they don't have enough money to do physical releases. It may be the case that Amazon is handling that side of things. Like, Embracer Group are made up of a collection of like lots of small companies, so it's potential that they wouldn't have the cash flow, maybe, to print like physical discs. I don't think they've had to do that yet. I think a lot of the games they've put out up until this point have been digital only, other than Saints Row, but I think they lost a lot of money with Saints Row. I don't know, I think I'd have to look into that. But yeah, it's not clear why exactly Embracer aren't handling the publishing end of these things. Like, they don't appear to have any association other than we own Crystal Dynamics, but that seems to be it. Like, they're not involved in the development. Weird. It may also be that Tomb Raider was already deep into development before Embracer bought the company, so it could be that they're just like, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, it's fine. Don't know. It's unlikely we'll ever know. But anyway, that is some news about games coming up soon, but what about games you want to play right now? Well, you can play Blacktail. which is the story of Yaga, who has been stranded or abandoned in the forest looking for her sister Zora. And she has been approached by Baba the witch, who is kind of helping her survive / potentially possessing her over time. It is a first-person archery game, but it's kind of like an adventure game, I guess. There's a lot of different abilities you have. There's a morality system to see whether or not you're going to be a good witch or a bad witch and stuff like that. We have played a little bit of it this week. If you want to check it out, Foley plays Blacktail for a bit. I've liked so far of what we've played of it. The combat feels like it's going to be clunky and frustrating, personally. Even though we haven't got deep into the combat yet, I do get the feeling that is what it's going to be like over time. The exploration has been fun though, and the world itself is very interesting. There's a lot of Slavic lore going on. All the different abilities outside of the archery are kind of interesting. They also adapt to your morality, so different spells, different abilities will have a different effect depending on whether you're good or bad, good or evil, or what have you. So yeah, give it a look. I think it's interesting. It's also a debut game from The Parasite, and it's pretty good for a debut game. River City Girls 2 is a game that I've really wanted to play. I really want to play River City Girls 1, actually, for a really long time. But it is kind of like the old school Streets of Rage, Double Dragons, that kind of thing. You know, this kind of roaming brawler type games. Yeah, it's a bit more combat stuff. Yeah, it's a bit more of that, but with more characters now as well. And I think it's 4-player now. I'm not sure. Anyway, River City Girls 1 was pretty well received, and I don't imagine River City Girls 2 will be any different. As you can see, it looks like it's a lot of fun. But with more characters and more stuff, and now with the engine also established, they can afford to be a bit nuts with the gameplay. Little Gator game we had a look at 2 weeks ago or so. It's a really nice, chill, fun, be a kid in the forest kind of thing. It doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest. I would liken it closer to something like a short hike rather than any kind of particularly difficult game. You're just this tiny little gator child just having fun out in nature. But that's it. That's kind of the game. That's something you're interested in a game that doesn't require too much of any effort or any attention from you. That's what you're looking at there. And then a title I had been waiting on for quite a while. I've been really annoyed that Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII was a physical release for the PSP. The original, it's the PSP before the PS Vita, which meant it was never given a digital release. And the way Sony mandated digital versus physical releases for the PSP was that it's up to the publisher to do it. Now, they can do it if they want. They don't have to, and Square Enix decided not to, which meant there was no digital release, which meant you could never play it on the PS3, PS4, stuff like that. Super annoying. It's been locked to the PSP for a very long time. You would have had to have a still functioning PSP, and then 2, actually buy the UMD disc for it, and so on. So now it's finally back out, remastered. It's looking really, really good. Gameplay, I always liked how it played. It is important to remember it is a PSP title, which means short bursts of gameplay. Levels would only take you maybe an hour or 2 hours to get through. They're not meant to be very lengthy affairs, just because it was a handheld device. And in Japan, handheld devices means they play them on the train. So something they can suspend and then go back to, and so on like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and it is also setting the story for Final Fantasy VII, the original. I don't believe there has been any story changes to Crisis Core to reflect the story changes in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't believe there have been, but I could be wrong. And while I have been waiting to play the game for a really long time, I don't think I'm going to play it anytime soon, because I'm still kind of waiting to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I haven't done that yet. I am scared. I'm scared to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, since it's rather an important title to me. Anyway, those are the new releases for this week. However, it is now time to talk about the worst parts of video games, the video game industry. So, Epic are to delist a number of older games. So, Epic runs a bunch of online services for a bunch of games. This is more of yet another nail in the coffin of video game preservation. A lot of these games can still function offline, but a lot of them will be like literally no longer playable because they're not online anymore. So here are the games: 1,000 Tiny Claws, Dance Central's 1-3, Green Day Rock Band, Monsters, probably, Stole My Princess, Rock Band 1-3, The Beatles Rock Band, Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket-Powered Battle Cars, aka Rocket League, before it was Rocket League, Unreal Gold, Unreal 2, Unreal Tournament 2003, Unreal Tournament 2004, Unreal Tournament 3, Unreal Tournament Game of the Year Edition, etc., etc. Lots of Unreal tournaments disappearing, which are, I think, entirely online games. So they will just be unplayable. I imagine the music ones, Rock Band, Green Day Rock Band, and so on, it's potential that the music licenses themselves may have expired. And while that shouldn't stop you from being able to play the game that you own, here we are, the video game industry. I think the idea is that you'd still be able to play them offline, but you won't be able to buy them new, and you wouldn't be able to buy DLC and stuff like that. But if you already own the game, you'll still be able to download it and play it. You just won't have access to its online services, other than the games that are almost entirely online, like the Unreal tournaments and stuff like that. So not great for games preservation. On the other hand, you could probably find ROMs and stuff like that, but you shouldn't have to go down illegal piracy routes to get to games that they're just refusing to support anymore. Like, it shouldn't be considered. It shouldn't be considered illegal because you're not selling it anymore. What do you want from me? You're not losing any money. Anyway, Meta's VR consulting CTO leaves the company, telling the firm to make better decisions and give a damn. This is John Carmack. So you may or may not be familiar with John Carmack. Older video game players potentially do know who John Carmack is. He's behind Doom. He's Doom guy in a lot of ways. John Carmack left id Software a while ago to consult with Meta and also to start his own startup. He was consulting with them for their VR stuff in particular, so he joined Oculus, to be fair, and then they changed the name, but he stayed on. But he has decided to leave the company, accusing the firm of self-sabotage when it comes to VR. Carmack criticized the company's efficiency, adding that despite Quest 2 being almost exactly what he wanted to see, with its mobile hardware, inside-out tracking, optional PC streaming, 4K-ish software, he was offended at seeing a 5% GPU utilization number in production. It's like, you put all these great things into it and then you just don't fucking use any of it. It's like, what was the point? What was the point in putting all that stuff in if you're not going to use any of it? We have a ridiculous amount of people and resources, but we constantly self-sabotage and squander effort. There is no way to sugarcoat this. I think our organization is operating at half the effectiveness that would make me happy. Been a struggle for me. I have a voice at the highest levels here, so it feels like I should be able to move things, but I'm evidently not persuasive enough. A good fraction of the things I complain about eventually turn my way after a year or two passes and evidence piles up, but I have never been able to kill stupid things before they cause damage, or set a direction and have a team actually stick to it. I think my influence at the margins has been positive, but has never been a prime mover, so it seems like he is frustrated with them not listening to him. You know, it's like, why would you bring in a consulting CTO if you're not going to actually listen to them? It seems more like, it may not be nice to say it, but it seems more like they wanted his name attached to it for PR rather than for his actual expertise. If you follow him on Twitter, he is fairly often updating on different VR tech and stuff like that. He is often talking about how he is tinkering with things to see if he can make them better, to improve performance and stuff like that. So he is very much involved in the VR space. Like, he's not the CTO who wears a suit and just goes to board meetings and then disappears for the rest of the year. Like, he's there working. But yeah, hopefully he'll move on to a different VR platform and they'll listen to him there instead. That's a big loss for Oculus, though. Multiple veteran Criterion devs exit studio following Need for Speed Unbound. Need for Speed Unbound is the latest Need for Speed. It's been pretty well received critically. I have no particular interest in racing games, so I have no idea. But from what I've heard, people like it. But 5 senior developers have decided to leave after the game is released. That's the VP and GM of Criterion, the executive producer, the head of studio development, head of content, and senior technical director. That's a lot of big names. That's a lot of big titles to lose after the successful release of a game. What happened here? What happened here? Many of the team have worked with Criterion for more than a decade. Matt Webster is the VP and GM of Criterion. Was with EA, who owned Criterion for 23 years, and even worked on the original FIFA game. That's 1996, which means it was developed 94 or 95. That they're like, he's a lifer basically at the company. Like, why did he leave? And he took a lot of senior people with him. Either something really bad happened behind the scenes, or, and I'm kind of leaning more in this direction, they're probably going to start their own studio. I have a feeling you'll hear about it next year, that former Criterion devs have started a new studio, going to be working on, I don't know, rally games probably, because I think some of them are former Codemasters people. Maybe, I guess we'll see. It's still very questionable why 5 pretty senior people in the company would leave after a fairly successful release, considering also that their previous game, Need for Speed Heat, was not successfully released. Like, it was panned. So that's like a pretty successful turnaround for them, only then to leave. Yeah, I don't know. There's some questions there. Okay, Rick and Morty creator used controversial AI art, voice acting in new shooter. So, okay, so there's a whole can of worms here to be opened up on AI art, AI voice acting, AI content creation in general. I'm not necessarily levying this at Justin Roiland, the Rick and Morty guy. In particular, so what they did in this game is they used this to do like background art stuff you'd only see for like a couple of seconds. You're just running through the room or whatever, you know. They're not necessarily expecting you to hang out there for a while. So they used AI art to kind of fill in the gaps in a lot of that stuff, but they also used a fair amount or a sizable amount of, you know, uniquely content created by an actual human being for the vast majority of the game. For voiceover AI, or for voiceover stuff as well, they're using actual human beings. There's only one voice that still uses the AI, and then there's a handful of small art assets that they kept the AI art for whatever reason. Problem here is now we have AI art in a video game. Now we have AI produced content in a video game already, which is not good. Like, it's a precedent. You could argue slippery slope here. At what point are we going to see an entire game that's just AI art and so on? You might think, does that matter? It keeps costs down, what have you, etc. It's theft. The way AI art is generated is that they are training an AI model on already existing art. So it's already existing content, often, vast majority of the time, without either the knowledge of the original artist and definitely without their consent. So that is theft. You are using their content, their art, their hard work, if you like. You are then using that to train your AI model and then selling that AI model to other people to use in what is a consumer product. So that means you're making money. There's no fair use argument here. You're making money off the back of it, off stolen assets. You don't have a leg to stand on, to be honest. And just pointing this out as a sort of milestone, they're in games now, and in not just, random things you'll find on itch or something you'll find buried in a forum somewhere. This is like a boxed product you can find on the shelf, and it contains AI created voice, which is worrying, and AI created art and so on. At what point are we going to see music, entire games, code, and so on? I don't think we'll see AI code for a very long time, just because code's complicated. Code's very complicated. You can't just take somebody's. Let's put it this way: it's not okay to get it kinda right. AI art, like as long as you don't look at the details, it's fine. Voice AI, again, as long as you don't try to get it to say anything particularly complicated, it's fine. You're just like, oh, that's a weird pronunciation, but whatever, I understand what they're saying. Code's not like that. You need to say exactly what you mean, or it's not going to work. So I don't think we're going to see AI code used in anything particularly complex anytime soon, but here is a milestone, a very bad beginning of precedent, and hopefully it does not continue. Not to let Justin off the hook exactly, because he's fucking started it now, so I guess we'll see. Anyway, we'll finish off with some stupid news. $100 Diablo 4 collector's box doesn't include the game. So, continuing the trend of extremely expensive collector's editions that don't actually have the game in it. And it's not that you're also buying a code to the game and that's included in the price. No, it's not. The game is included in any way. No code, no discount, no voucher, nothing. No steel box to put the disc in if you ever do get a physical version. No, you're just buying a bunch of shit, basically. In what way is this a collector's edition? Or collector's box, even. This is just a bunch of merch related to Diablo. That's it. I don't get in any way how this is related to the game, because the game isn't involved. But anyway, you get a candle of creation. Debatable if it's an actual candle or not, or is it a plastic thing that looks like a candle? A cult mousepad as opposed to your regular mousepad, I guess. Okay, a cloth map of Sanctuary. I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. A pin of the Horadrim Diablo 4 Collector's Edition art book, not the game, the art book, and matte fine art prints too, that are that size. I don't think there's a picture of the actual stuff. Is this linked to it? Okay. Anyway. Right, there's the art book. Then that's the inside of the art book. Those are the matte prints. So Lilith with Diablo's head, I think, on the right. I think it's Tyrael, but considering how Diablo 3 ends, he shouldn't be there. Anyway. There's another art print? I thought there was only two matte. Are these... This might be one print, actually. Anyway. Here's the candle. I don't think it's an actual candle, it's the funny thing. I think it's just like a plastic model. Anyway. The box, I guess, in the interior. There's the map. There's your occult mousepad, which is tiny. For a PC mousepad, that's tiny. Pin? I guess? Pin must come on a card or something like that. Anyway, no game included is the important part here. It's also not on the, what do you call it, the Battle.net store. You can't buy it there. You can only buy it on the Gear store, which definitely cements that it is merch. It's not actually part of the game. But yeah, pretty dumb. Anyway, the Final Fantasy VII remake that we were talking about there, Final Fantasy Crisis Core remake rather, has a painting with a Getty watermark, which is not the first time Square Enix has had this happen. I think it happened in Kingdom Hearts 3 as well, but there is a painting in the Shinra Mansion in Crisis Core that has the Getty watermark still present. And it's not just one, because video games like to reuse their assets, so the painting is multiple places. It's the same painting, you'll see it in a couple of different places, and they all have the Getty watermark on them, or at least they did. I imagine it has been patched out at this point, so if we want to see it and get a funny screenshot, do it now. It's not the first time Square Enix have done that. It happened in Kingdom Hearts 3, but that was like almost up for like half a second. You know, I think it was part of an actual sequence. You wouldn't have seen it for very long. Whereas this is you can literally just stand there and look at it. Anyway, and then some hero has decided to make Final Fantasy VII Remake completely playable with an actual real-life Buster Sword. The absolute madman. I can't go to full screen for some reason. Alright, it won't let me go to full screen. Anyway, do I have to come out of Chrome full screen to go into full screen with this? No, just no. If I go to the actual... Oh, that went to his page. That's not what I want. Let's go to the page. The tweet. Thread. Okay, that's what I wanted. Cool. Now full screen. All right, there we go. Hang on. I mean, mute this because he's kind of loud. Anyway, yeah. So he has this motion-controlled actual Buster Sword. Now, I don't imagine it's made of actual full steel solid thing. There's no way to be able to lift it like that. But it kind of works, I guess. And he was really happy that he managed to get the guard working. You can also have Cloud do different attacks depending on how you move it, but you can also see he's fucking knackered from having to swing the thing around, which is pretty funny. But anyway, you can check him out, Super Louis 64, if you want to see his the full video of him trying to play the whole game like that. I can't imagine it'll go very well, but there he is. Anyway, let's leave Blacktail. Have a little chat. So that was the news for the 12th to the 18th of December 2022. Not a whole lot happening, as I kind of alluded to earlier in the week. Most of the big news would have come out during the Game Awards, or any news ahead of that, so it's not a whole lot happening this week. A lot of releases, though, getting out just before Christmas, as fast as they can, more or less. Trying to get just the last thing, if you can just about fit it in the stocking. I think they're all digital games too, because I don't think any of these got physical releases. So, you know, you don't have to wrap a digital game. This is very easy to just get it in there. Updates wise, Redemption Reapers looks interesting, but I have a lot of tactical games that I still haven't played. Like, I haven't finished Triangle Strategy. I bought Other Side ages ago, and I quite liked it, but I still haven't finished that either. Geofield Chronicle 2, I'm still considering getting in the first place, so I don't know. I think I just need to see more of the game to see if maybe I'd be more interested in that one. The stuff about Amazon being partnered for Tomb Raider is just weird. It's like, why isn't Embracer Group? Why Amazon? That's odd to me. Criterion guys leaving, again, strange. They left after a very successful launch. And these are guys who were there for a very long time. It's not like they came in for the game, just for that game. Especially the guy who was there since the original FIFA decides to leave. It's either something very bad has happened behind the scenes, or they're going to make their own studio. It's kind of what I think is actually going to happen. Things, I don't know. I don't know why I do these recap things, because I always forget literally what I was talking about 2 seconds ago. Anyway, there was some news that came out earlier today that I didn't fit into today's show, but Pixel remasters of Final Fantasy will be coming out early next year for PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. They are currently only available on PC and mobile for some reason, but not on PlayStation or Switch, which I never understood. Like, why? Why are you like this? But anyway, they will be. So that was industry news. But what about our own little tiny channel? What's happening over there? Well, here is our roadmap for the second half of the year. So reminders, the green ticks are games that have appeared on the channel and we're done with them. Either we did a full Let's Play or we just did a one-shot video. Yellow dots, games are in progress. Excuse me, gray clocks, games are on the way at some point in the future, and if there's no clock, I have no imminent plans to play them. And considering we're very close to the end of the year, that's probably not going to happen. They're probably going to get moved into next year. Anyway, so this week we completed The Devil in Me. and we completed a Plague Tale Requiem. Plague Tale Requiem was a very good game. The Devil in Me started off strong, and then just turned into a generic slasher type thing. I was very disappointed in it before it ended. Anyway, we have not finished Swansong yet though, so we are going to keep going with Vampire the Masquerade Swansong. But I'm probably going to double up on it this week, just because I am keen to get it finished before the end of the year. I kind of want to start the next year fresh with all new Let's Plays. So I'm hoping we can get it finished either next week or the week before, or a week after. It'll probably be the week after, because I think there's still a fair bit left in the game. So we're going to double up on it by playing it on Monday and Wednesday. We have now hit what I feel is the halfway mark, maybe probably a bit more than the halfway mark. We've had the three main characters have gone off to do their own thing, and then have come back to regroup, and now have been sent out again to do their own thing again, which I think is like Act 2 of the game, and then Act 3 is the follow-up to what's happening there. So we'll see. Monday and Wednesday, that's the plan for them. Thursday, we're going to do Let's Rank 2022, or Foley Plays 2022, where we're going to look at all the games that appeared on the channel this year and rank them, S to D. I don't think there are any games I played that qualify for E, or F, or Z. Hopefully. I don't think anything qualifies for Z, certainly, but I guess we'll see. So that's the plan. On Thursday, we'll have a look at all the games that came out, have a look at some trailers, we'll reminisce about when I played it and stuff like that. You guys can hang out in the chat, and we can, discuss. Does it belong in S? Does it belong in D? Does it belong somewhere in between? Does it belong in S.4 or something like that? I don't know. I'm not making another row. Anyway, that'll be Thursday. Friday, we're going to continue Resident Evil 2. We finished Claire's scenario yesterday, and we began Leon's scenario B, or scenario second. Also, we got about halfway, because there were some shenanigans with the definitely not an emulator that we're using, so that it could recognize that we had already finished it with Claire, so we could start Leon's second scenario. It was a bit weird, but we got it working eventually. So we're about halfway through now with Leon's second scenario. We'll probably finish that on the Friday. We've moved it to Friday instead of Saturday because there's holiday events are on the weekend this year, Saturdays and Sundays, so I will not be around. But that is the schedule for the week coming. So Monday and Wednesday, Vampire the Masquerade Swansong. Thursday, Let's Rank 2022. Friday, Resident Evil 2, and then Saturday and Sunday there won't be any streams. But then we will be back on the Monday for probably more Vampire the Masquerade, to be honest, because I don't think we're going to get it finished next week. But we'll see. Anyway, that is the plan for next week. So that was the news and the channel update for December 12th to 18th, 2022. I'll let you get back to the World Cup, or you were more than likely already watching the World Cup and weren't in the chat in the first place. Probably. Anyway, if you want to check out any of the videos we played this week, they're all over on the archive channel, youtube.com/doomtrain5. And if you are over on YouTube already watching this and the World Cup's already over, you can go and hang out in the chat for do come to the Thursday, the Let's Rank one, because it will be a lot more fun to have a discussion rather than me just talk at you for why I think Elden Ring belongs in S rank, because obviously it does. Anyway, you can find that over at twitch.tv/doomtrain5. Okay, I'm gonna head off. Have a good rest of your day. Hopefully see you guys tomorrow for Vampire the Masquerade. Hopefully definitely on Thursday for Let's Rank. Yeah, you gonna show up? Cool. Alright, hold you to it. Have a good rest of your day, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.